Today we're doing short division. We're actually dividing by a single digit. Now this might look like a crazy short division to do. It's using this ridiculously long number, and you might be thinking, Mr. Rossi's gone crazy. But if you can do this one, you can basically do any short division. These are the three things that we will learn. If you can't do it, put a 0 and underline. Can't do it again? Put a 0 and continue underlining. What about if you can't do it at the end? Put a 0 and write the remainder. Now let's try it. We're dividing by 5. How many 5s are there in 1? You can't do it. So what should we do? Put a 0. So we're going to put a 0 above the 1. We have to keep everything lined up. And then, what do we do after we put a 0? We must underline. We're going to join this together with the next digit. Why do we do this? Because 1 wasn't enough to divide by 5. We couldn't make any groups of 5 out of 1. So we need a bigger number so we can actually make some groups of 5. Now, the question is, how many 5s go into 19? We know that's 5, 10, 15, that's 3 5s. So there are 3 5s in 19. Now as you can see, we're keeping all the digits lined up. The 0 lined up above the 1, the 3 above the 9. But we divided 19, we didn't divide 15. So that means there's some left over. What's left over from 19? So 3 times 5 was 15. So from 15 to 19 there is 4 left over. That 4 goes next to the next digit. And now we are doing 5. How many 5s are there in 40? And that is 8. Now that works out perfectly. There's nothing left over from that. So let's keep going. How many 5s are there in 0? Now, you can't get any groups of 5 from 0. So what do? We must put a 0 if you cannot do it. And then, following our rule, underline. So let's underline, let's join it together with the next digit. How many 5s are there in, it's 0 again? Well, what should we do? We have to put 0 above it. And this is our second rule. If you can't do it again, put a 0, which we've just done, and continue underlining. So this wasn't big enough to be able to make any groups of 5. It was 0. So we need to keep underlining to make a number big enough that we can divide by 5. So let's do it. How many 5s are there in 6? And there is only 1 5 that you can get from 6. So we're going to put 1 up here. There is something left over. There is 1 left over. So the 1 goes next to the 5 to make 15. How many 5s are there in 15? There is 3. There's nothing left over, so let's continue. How many 5s are in 2? Oh, we cannot do it. So what do? Put a 0 and underline. How many 5s are there in 28? There are 5. 5 times 5 is 25. What's left over? There's 3. From 25 to 28, there's 3 left over. Let's put 3 next to the next digit. Now, how many 5s are in 35? 7. Works out perfectly. Let's keep going to the next digit. How many 5s are there in 5? There's 1. then how many 5s are in 0? We can't do it. So what's our rule? Put a 0 and underline. Now, how many 5s are in 3? Now we can't get a group of 5 from just 3. And we're right at the end. So what do we do? Well, we can't get a group of 5, so once again, we have to put a 0. But then what? We have to write that leftover bit. We have to write a remainder. We couldn't divide that last 3. We couldn't make any groups of 5 out of it. So we have to show that we couldn't do that. We have to show that there's something left over at the end we couldn't divide. And that's why we write remainder 3. And this is now finished.